Doesn't it just get a little bit exhausting to be a pro wrestling fan? As always, I'm going to give you my catchphrase. If you hate something that AEW or WWE does, or any sports entertainment promotion, more power to you, man. I'm in your corner. I've got your back, because I think opinions make the world go round. But yes, AEW did something last night on Dynamite, which I massively enjoyed and made all my videos. Well, this one in between, obviously. And you see the reaction, you think, well, surely sometimes eventually you just have to let things go. Also, I'm aware I'm a very strange colour today. I am wrestling all weekend. Come down to Discovery in Scotland on Friday in Edinburgh, or come down to Progress on Sunday in Camden. I just have a lot of wrestling to do. I'm going to sweat a lot, so this thing will come down a substantial degree. Obviously, the lights make it worse, but also not to ruin the surprise too much. But when I go up to Scotland, I am a bad guy. When you have a silly tan, people just boo you. That's not what we're here to talk about. Let's talk Dynamite. You already know where we're going to start today. It was Mercedes Moné, it was Harley Cameron, it was Chris Statlander, and it was the puppet Mini Moné. Can I reach my own puppet? Yeah, I probably can. Let's break the fourth wall. There he is. I've been using this thing now for over 10 years because puppets are funny. Now, listen, you may think puppets are stupid. That's totally fine. Again, I don't repeat what I said at the beginning of the show. But my big worry is, well, there's two things going on right now. Again, just my opinion. I could be totally wrong, and you're allowed to let me know in the comments. And when you're down there, you may as well subscribe. There is some fair criticism to all of this, depending on what you want from wrestling. But when it crosses the line into this is ruining wrestling shouldn't be doing anything like this, I can't believe we've done this, what a joke, AEW is stupid. That is not a real thing, right? That is grifting, in my opinion. That is just being a massive negative Nancy, because wrestling should be able to do whatever the flub it wants. And you can't pretend that in 2025, this is something brand new for pro wrestling. Look at all the dumb stuff that WWE did. Go back to WCW and the Black Scorpion. Mid-South did stupid stuff. The AWA did stupid stuff. There is so much stupid stuff. I mean, WCW in the year 2000 was just a walking beast. But that wasn't stupid stuff. That was broken wrestling. That was no DQ matches that ended in disqualification, right? That was nonsensical stuff. So actually using that as a comparison is not fair at all. And I think the reason I get on my high horse about this is because I love it. Now, that's not me saying you should love it. That's not me saying that every single wrestling company should tailor-make their wrestling to me. But that's my point. I find it absolutely mad that I understand that I shouldn't be leaning into this because we all know what they're doing. But for people to go, if you like this, you're an absolute idiot and you're ruining wrestling, what are you talking about? You can't possibly think that. So when you go to see a movie, if it's not 100% for you, you're allowed to go, well, the movie business is dying. If you read a book and the twist goes off left and you wanted it to go right, you have to go kill all books. It's just such a ridiculous way to be. And once again, I can understand people being like, why is there a puppet in the ring? But I actually thought they led into this very, very well. Like Harley Cameron was trying to get revenge on Mercedes Moné because she was horrible to her. And Mercedes, I just thought, was a wonderful heel during all of this. I keep forgetting how many belts she won, because he keeps going after more belts and I get confused. I think it's 12, right? Ultimate Moné had 12 belts, 2 more than Ultimo Dragon back in the day. She was horrible here. And after she did get humiliated, I mean, when the puppet's face went into the cake, I was like, well, at least we've subverted an old school wrestling trope. But of course, Mercedes' face eventually went into the cake too, which we've been doing since the beginning of the time, the dinosaurs roaming the earth. But she was so mad and she was so upset. I was like, that's just good healing, man. She came out here to celebrate the fact she had won the championship, and she ended with some carbohydrates and sugar right up her nose. And then we had another skit later. It was like a good 40 minutes. Maybe I'm exaggerating there. She hadn't washed, she hadn't rubbed it off. She still had the cake all over her face. When the puppet had cake on their face, the camera zoomed in. At no point did they pretend the puppet was real. Like Mercedes instantly went, Harley Cameron, you're a moron. Why are you hiding behind a table? And then also you got the fact that Athena and Mercedes are going to tag up as well. But I am always going to be a mega fan, not just of goofy wrestling, because I believe it is for life. And listen, not all goofy wrestling for life is good. Sometimes people try and do funny stuff and it sucks. People seem to think anything goofy happens. Well, Miller must have liked that. No, I can still be critical of things that promotions are doing. I just love the fact that actually the big takeaway of this is that Mercedes is up here after winning that belt in that Canadian promotion in Winnipeg, I believe it was. How do we tear her down? How do we continually kick her in the face? It's almost like a Kurt Angle situation. In the ring, like on fire. Outside the ring, always the moron, always the idiot, always the fool. Misplaced arrogance and other words that you want to say. So I absolutely loved it. And I think my big fear, to use deliberate exaggerating words to apply effect to this video, is that anybody would ever take this seriously, that we should take this out of wrestling. Wrestling is awesome because it's predetermined sports and you can do whatever you want. Amazing, this ties into the firework controversy, what a sentence that is, that we did at Wrestle Dream. Because somebody messaged me something along the lines of, oh, well, you know, it's stupid and makes it look ridiculous, like they don't know what they're doing. And I was like, but no, the whole point is that the funny part is that the pyrotechnic guy still hit play, and that doesn't make any sense. Like, if it was real life, for lack of a better term, the pyro guy would go, well, we'll wait till the end of this match and then we'll start it to properly kick off the pay-per-view. And the reply was, exactly, it doesn't make any sense. But I was like, well, if you're going to break wrestling down to that much, I know we always say this, but it's the best example. An Irish whip doesn't make sense. Go and try and Irish whip somebody today. And your mate will just stop and turn around being like, what are you doing, Dave? Then you have to go and put your head in the toilet because that's just how it works. Sorry, a fish tank. I got that a little bit wrong. It's not really a problem. Again, I am amplifying for effect for this video, but as soon as it's done, I don't think about it, I don't worry about it, and I barely spend any time on social media anymore because it's just not worth it. But I loved it. I truly, truly did. And of course it was stupid, and of course it was dumb. Nobody was trying to act like this is some, gravitational situation that we find ourselves in. Like, oh my gosh, the impact and the drama. But the Jon Moxley promo was sort of close to this as well, and talk about a 1-2 punch and just remind you that wrestling can be whatever the flub you want it to be. Because, of course, he did lose to Darby Allin. He did cut his big interview here. And he was like, yeah, I didn't back it up at all. Darby, this self-destruction is going to be the end of you eventually, so I will win. But people are calling me a liar. But when I look in the mirror, I know who I really am. Which is essentially saying, yeah, I am a little bit of a coward, but I don't care. And maybe I'm going to use that to become a sort of more threatening beast than I already was. Then he has his match with Kyle O'Reilly. Bless Bryan Danielson. He said, you know why this wasn't announced early? Because Jon Moxley still had to get clear. I love little things like that. It's what Blink-182 were thinking about, the small things. But Jon Moxley was so terrified about being submitted by submission specialist Kyle O'Reilly. Anytime he was in any kind of hold, that man freaked out. Once again, that is a brilliant heel, man. All tough on the outside, an absolute itty-bitty spider on the inside. That's why he tapped out so quickly to the sharpshooter. At least that's going to be my spin. Turns out it may have just been a pay-per-view issue. We're running out of time. But the fact that we can still fantasy book the reason, and it makes sense in terms of the story, I think means AEW is doing a pretty good job with it. And he literally punched the referee in the face when he was in that ankle lock because he was too embarrassed to be caught in that situation again where he has to quit. Then, of course, out come the Death Riders, big schmoz, and that led into a party match, which was fun. And Darby Allin made the save to the end of that as well. So it is going to keep continuing in some guys. Probably blood and guts. I really don't know what the men are going to do for blood and guts. I probably missed something here. It's probably looking at me right in the face. Darby Allin, Jon Moxley in a blood and guts match scares the absolute life out of me. Somebody told me they didn't think the Wrestle Dream match was that disgusting. And I was like, well, you didn't watch that match then, did you? I thought it was going to be more. It's enough for me, right? Skewers under the nails is sometimes worse than sort of taking a chair shot to the head in terms of a visual representation. But I really enjoy what Jon Moxley is doing, and I think he's had a hell of a year. I mean, he made that All-In main event where it takes more than one person to make it happen, but he was such a huge part of it. And I don't know, I think there's extra depth to his character. And again, you don't have to see it, but I think a lot of people are ignoring it. Or maybe they are just sort of not working out what he's trying to do here. But I really do think he's created someone that could even go babyface eventually. If he's sort of honest, you could switch it on a dime and be like, man, I did screw up. I'm so damn sorry about it. And maybe they're the seeds we're putting in place now because he has been a heel for a long time. But given it was Kyle O'Reilly versus Jon Moxley, which ultimately you didn't have to care about, they really found a way to throw some story in there. I was a big, big fan. I truly was. I think Jon Moxley is pretty damn great. Hilariously, we're also going back to the Hurt Syndicate versus the Death Riders. Not the Death Riders, the Hurt Syndicate versus the Demand. Unbelievable. Just sort of super exaggerated. I really enjoyed the trios title match that kicked things off. Samoa Joe and the Operations taking on the Hurt Syndicate. Of course, the Hurt Syndicate are about to win. Ricochet turns up, does the old school distraction. MVP doesn't know what to do. Ends up in the Coquina Clutch. He hadn't got his 8 hours. No, he had got his 8 hours. Sorry, I got that wrong. Make sure you check out Ups and Downs, What Culture, where I reviewed this too. And I did get it wrong there. Whoops. But he tapped out because, of course, he had been, satisfied with the amount of sleep he got. So he didn't need to go to sleep again. And it was just a way to sort of protect the Hurt Syndicate, which I don't mind if you're trying to keep them as tough guys. And bless MVP for always being the guy to do the job, to use the proper terms. But after you've had essentially 2 street fights, you've had a feud that's been going on this long. This, to me, felt a little bit like a get-out-of-jail-free card. I wasn't a massive fan of it. I just don't need to see them fight again. Now, at first, I was like, oh, maybe they're going to be involved in Blood and Guts too. I don't think we have that many positions, given that 6 people already gone or 3 on each team. But either way, I just don't think it's done. It's just a natural thing in wrestling. Eventually you do get to the end of the life. I mean, you could do MVP versus Ricochet one-on-one, but Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin and the Gates of Agony are still going to be there. So that wasn't for me. That, to me, I've got to wait until I see the fallout, but I like the Hurt Syndicate, and I really like what Ricochet and the Gates of Agony are doing. And so it's almost like, I want a brand new Christmas present now. I played with my first present. I want to move on to my second present. And there's a bunch of other teams that we could feud them with and sort of get back onto the programming. That's what I would do. Also, I think Bobby Lashley eventually has to go after Hangman Adam Page. He hasn't been pinned yet, so it'd be nice if we could start teasing that too. So yeah, good match. The rest of it, no. I mean, I'll wait and see, and it's no bad stuff. But I think if you could have sort of reset the pack here a little bit, It just would have been a teeny tiny bit better. I really enjoyed the Samoa Joe promo he cut afterwards as well. Once again, just proving you could give him anything. You could give him anything. You could say, Samoa Joe, go to the ring and play chess. And you'd watch the chess segment and you'd be like, it's the best thing I've ever seen in my life. And Samoa Joe's going to kill someone. Kept it very simple. I don't like the fact you beat me, Hangman. I beat you up because I want to be the champion. You think you're the man? You think you're better than me? Nobody is better than me. It goes to show that sometimes words on a page mean nothing. It's delivery. I guess that's always the way. I did think it was bad Hangman and Page didn't run out and punch him in the head. I know that he's going to be on Collision. They advertised that, which is good. But the first thing we saw on Dynamite was Hangman after the Wrestle Dream going, man, Samoa Joe, that's it. I can't believe you did that. I gifted you this shot. So now it's on site, essentially. And then here he was. Just air that promo afterwards. I understand it's a teeny tiny thing once again. But we didn't mug Hangman off. I don't think anybody's going to care massively. But it's just those smaller touches, going back to the Blink 182 thing where if the world champion starts your show by saying, I'm coming for you, Samoa Joe, and then he doesn't do it, you're a bit like, what? Especially if you're a kid, right? Kids really buy into that stuff and listen because they're smarter than us, to be completely honest. But absolutely don't do anything with a fish tank. I regret saying that. Let's not get into it. Just go to my TikTok, right? I'm just doing dumb wrestling skits now. I do not care. Search for my TikTok, Simon Miller, and you can find my dumb AEW fish skit, which somebody thought was meant to be a real attack. I was so depressed afterwards. But I will take more Samoa Joe, Hangman, and Page, especially because you could probably do a stipulation match next, and that's going to be better still. We know that Samoa Joe has mentioned he will be retiring the next couple of years. He will be a huge loss to professional wrestling. But on a more positive side, one of the GOATs, man, especially in the modern day, that man rules. Also pretty pumped about what we can do with these women tag team titles. If you watch all my content, you know I like the WWE ones too. I just don't think they're used consistently enough, and that's why I'm so damn excited the Kabuki Warriors may be going for them. Charlotte and Alexa versus those two, man, sign me up. I'm going to forget the teams here because there were some new ones. We had Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford, Willow and Harley Cameron doing their thing, the Sin Sisters, or two of the Triangle of Madness, and then you also had Queen Aminata and Jamie Hayter, which ties into the whole blood and guts stuff. They won this, and the winner got to choose the first person they take on in the tournament, which also has Mercedes Moné and Athena as a team, which is incredible, and Toni Storm and Mina Shirakawa. But their finish was just two strikes of essentially their signature and finishing moves comes together. So it was a double team move, but in a very specific way. I like that. And I thought everybody used this match to really underline what we could do here. There's somebody else in the tournament I've forgotten about, so you have to forgive me. I think it's Ty Mello and Anna Jay. I think that's right. I mean, you can go many ways with this. Some people think the final is going to be Toni and Mina taking on Athena and Mercedes. That's right. Willow and Harley could absolutely win it too. I mean, it all depends on the balance you want between heels and faces being champions. But ultimately, I think this shines a spotlight on the women's division. I love the fact we put Mercedes into it too because she's so obsessed with winning belts. I like the fact that sort of you're still carrying on the Chris and Mercedes thing. I can't remember if I said this earlier, but Chris Statlander turned up and beat Mercedes Moné up, which put her into the case. I mean, maybe that's how Chris Statlander wins because Mercedes Moné says, I was kind of distracted doing this. I think Chris Statlander should win that. Great match, by the way, in terms of Jeopardy. I really couldn't call it. Like, I wouldn't put any money on it or put my life on the line because that'd be totally insane. I also don't mind it's only a 4-match bracket, essentially. Tag team things. There's still 8 people. 8 people is a lot of people, especially when you think, I don't think you could do more than that. I think it would take up too much television time. But ultimately, what matters is who wins the first set of belts and how do they defend these? How much are they sort of kept on TV? Because we started this Dynamite with the Trios Championship match. I'd take way more of them. And I'd take way more Trios teams getting involved and looking who we've got and sort of trying to make that just a little bit more consistent. The women's tag team belts should be introduced. It doesn't mean that all professional wrestling doesn't have too many belts, but that's not the area you take away from. There'll be other areas where you should look at. But yeah, I mean, I like it a lot. Like, I think it's very intriguing on paper. It has to be booked well, and the tournament has to feel compelling. And why we announced it, there was a 3-week gap, I don't know. That was a bit silly, Billy. But in terms of me buying into it, well, I am. What do you want me to do? Love the main event as well, Okada versus Bandido. I don't mean this in a like-for-like way, but Bandido is becoming, in my own personal life, an Eddie Guerrero to me. There was a time when I didn't really get Eddie Guerrero from an all-round perspective. I loved his in-ring work, but he wasn't really one of my guys. And obviously in sort of 2003, 4, 5, all of a sudden I was like, how did I miss this? It was weird too, because the 97 Rey Mysterio Eddie Guerrero match is basically what got me into WCW. It's like 4 or whatever the flub. That's just a weird comparison. But yeah, but by those early 2000s, I felt like such a moron. It just happens sometimes, right? I wasn't paying enough attention. And I was like, this is like one of the best wrestlers I've ever seen. He is flawless. How did I not see it before? I'm not saying Bandido is going to get to those levels, But my point is, it's not just his matches that have improved in 2025, or it's not just his matches he's got over. It's the little things he does, his personality, his characters coming across. And he doesn't cut that many promos. Although I was in that post-press conference for Forbidden Door when he was doing that interview with Brody King, and obviously Tony Khan was there as well. We should just let him talk more like that. Tony Khan gave him a Fulham shirt because they were in London. He was so made up and so happy. I was like, we can paste that on television, right? Just seems like a good, nice dude. But this match was great. Obviously, he's still selling that shoulder injury, which essentially screwed him over. Wasn't able to get the 21 plex, and then got his positioning wrong for his finish, which I thought was really good. Maybe I've read into that, but that made it feel like real life sports to me. Okada hits a Rainmaker 1, 2, 3. It just goes to show us, that's why I like this unified title and not being allowed to have interference. I don't think now Bandido, what a flipping loser. But no, man, it's one of the best performances I've seen him in against an all-caliber athlete in Okada. This is my favorite version of Okada. You can get mad. He makes me laugh. When Bandido did a gun at him and he reacted like it was a real gun, I was like, Okada, man, you are my favorite. If losing to Okada totally ruins your push, then there's something wrong with your push, right? I don't think you always need to have a distraction or something like that. It's something I'd like to see more of in wrestling. This is me, Mr. Goofy Wrestling for Life, saying that. But I just think the follow-up story is way more important than, oh, man, somebody lost their buried now, to use that stupid term. Then the Don Callis family comes out, big party. Takeshita comes out to his own music like, you screwed me over at the tag team thing that we did. Obviously, we need more of that, but at least we put it in the main event here. It was just good. It was a great match, and they've just told you either at the next pay-per-view or before the end of the year, we're going to do Okada versus Takeshita. That will be, they're not the end of the Don Callis family, but a sort of big splinter in the middle. Just really, really good. I mean, the match was great. It was a great main event. A championship was on the line too. No notes. I liked it. And I like Carl Fletcher being interrupted by Mark Briscoe. You could argue I'm being a hypocrite there because why is that okay? And it's just nice and simple, right? Sometimes it comes down to your own personal wants, and I want Mark Briscoe to be the TNT champion. So, Carl Fletcher to insult him, and then Mark be like, I want one more go. But he has to win. If he loses again, why did you do that? You are just beating him for no reason. It was also Don Callis that turned him down, not Carl Fletcher, because Don took the mic from him. We'll get there eventually. I thought Mark Briscoe was great as well. He didn't want to make excuses because he wants to be the babyface, but made it very clear he spent 3 days icing his testicles because that's what Carl Fletcher did to beat him. I thought that was a real good way to sort of, I don't know, get that point across without being a crybaby. I think a lot of people could learn from that as well. But Mark Briscoe should win. Carl Fletcher can lose. Copy and paste what I just said, and Carl Fletcher can probably be moved up, to be completely honest, and start fighting for bigger honors. I just like this show a lot. Again, maybe I'm in a good mood. Maybe I laughed so much at the Mercedes Moné thing that just sort of gave me the endorphins to enjoy everything else. I always like to caveat that because that seems to be a weird thing. Well, you're just so positive all the time. Nope. I'm happy to criticize anything. Again, no Hangman on the show, not a good idea. Doing Ricochet MVP thing, not a good idea for me. But these are things that I can kind of move past and talk about things that I did like. I make it clear here as well, although everybody would tune out by now probably. I'm never going to talk about things I don't like on social media in a doom and gloom way, because there's enough doom and gloom. I'd rather put positivity out into the world where I get to choose it. Whereas here, of course, we're going to go through the ups and the downs, or we quite literally do that over on What Culture, obviously. Let me know what you thought in the comments below, because I'm sure you will differ, which is awesome. Love to have conversations about wrestling, as long as you don't tell me to die. Like the video, share the video, and subscribe. GorillaMind.com/Simon, doing a mega sale at the moment. It's a load of percentages off. These are the supplements I take, as you know. Patreon.com/Simon at 316 for watch-alongs. Not only do we do John Cena versus Seth Rollins from Night of Champions 2015, which I do not remember, we're also doing the Sting match, which comes right after that. Totally forgot that Seth Rollins worked twice on that night, so that sums up my brain. Make sure you go to nordvpn.com/Simon and get yourself a deal and watch wrestling cheaper, maybe, what do I know? And then come say hello. Simon at 316, TikTok, Cameo, social media, all that stuff. Buy yourself a t-shirt, prowrestlingtees.com/Simon Miller. That's it for today. Thank you for watching. If you hated it, you know what? I respect you, because you're allowed to hate. See you tomorrow.